everyone, it's Allison from Determined to Shine, and today I'm going to show you how to make some unique background pages for your art journals and scrapbooks using a Gelli Plate. To make Gelli Plate prints, you just need a Gelli Plate itself, some paints, a brayer, and any kind of stencils or other texture items you'd like to use. What you're ultimately creating is pages that look like this. These were all done with a hexagon stencil. And it just creates really unique textures for the backgrounds of your pages. So to give you some examples, anyone who's taken my class before knows that I love my little salvage journal album that was made by Tangi Baxter of TangiBaxter.com. And you'll see all these unique pages with this really great texture. This is all created with a Gelli Plate. And so, you can see a piece of one here, again with that hexagon stencil that I used. And I really love art journaling because it's so personal and there's just really no ways you can make mistakes. And I think that it is whatever you want it to be. And this journal, it has all the pages I've done for my Determined to Shine classes that I've taught. And it's become a real treasure for me. And I really love creating different kinds of textures and patterns, as I mentioned, to use in the background. Here's some more Gelli. And then here's a page where you can see the entire background is made from a Gelli Plate print. So now I'm going to show you how to make some, and you can get started yourself. To get started, you're just going to want to remove the plastic backing from both sides of your Gelli Plate. You'll then have this flexible piece of, gelatin that creates a really unique printing press. And then these are the colors of paint I'm going to be using today. You'll notice it's just a wide variety of really cheap craft paint brands. These are often on sale at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or wherever you like to shop for just a couple, for even, two for $1 and things like that. So you can really use any you want. Now to get started, all you're going to do is just put some paint directly on the plate. And wow, that was a really big blob, which is fine. You're just going to take a brayer and spread that paint around. And then a lot of times I would add another color here, but because this came out so thick, I'm going to go ahead and do a print right now. I have this stencil from StencilGirl products that I'm going to use, and I'm just going to lay it down right over the top of the wet paint. And I'm going to take a piece of white copy paper and just lay it on top and press. And then when I lift it up, I have this really awesome print. Now I'm going to set this aside so I can print on it again in a moment. Now before I let this go away, one of the things that's really fun to do is create what we call a ghost print, which means I'm going to print again before I add or change anything on the plate. And so now we get this cool layer of orange with this neat texture on it. Now I'm going to add some of this red. It's a much better distribution of paint. And I'm even going to put a little brown in. And once again, just roll it around. This is another StencilGirl stencil that I really love. Lay it down. And print. Now again, I'm going to pull the stencil up. And I'm going to print again, but this time I'm going to go ahead and print right on top of this one that I already did. And you can see now I'm starting to really get some unique layers of pattern and color. A little bit of a lighter yellow. Kind of a brighter orange. Now you guys are probably noticing that I'm getting paint on my table as I'm going off to the side here. That just doesn't bother me. It really does bother some people. If it's gonna bother you, then that's on you, I guess. Again, a StencilGirl stencil. This is kind of an outdoor scene. And if you guys haven't figured out yet, this is not an art form for a perfectionist. This is just a really fun way to play. And you can play all day long with this technique. I'm going to go ahead and print on here with the stencil still on. And, you know, it really is just whatever you want to make it. Again, some really cool textures on here now. And I am going to go ahead and create another print of this. Oh, I love this. You know, this is really fun as I'm talking about fall. Oh, that's so beautiful. I might just leave it alone. I don't know. Oh, I'll probably still add more layers. Who am I kidding? You may have noticed during my journal flip through that I tend to migrate towards really bright colors, pinks and purples and blues. And fall has definitely arrived in Wisconsin. As I was outside today, I really just noticed the colors and thought, wow, that is really beautiful. And that's rare for me because I'm such a spring and summer person that to find beauty in the fall was just really inspiring. Now, there are other ways you can add texture besides stencils. I have this textured brayer from American Crafts, so I'm gonna just pull some pattern in there. I have this like wedge from Catalyst, and so that can be a fun way to add some texture as well. And then again, I'm just gonna print. And that's pretty neat. Now I'm gonna create the ghost print over these gears. There's not a ton of paint left on this one, so it may not be too dark, but still a really cool additional layer of color. Now I really liked the way that one looked, so I'm gonna do really that same pattern technique in this red and brown mix. Now you'll notice that this one really covered up that back layer, and that's really okay because remember, the whole point is going for a really layered look. And what I'm gonna do now is put a darker color on here. There's still some paint on the brayer, so it's gonna mix in with these others. And I'm gonna bring this stencil back out. And then I'm gonna reprint in the same place that I did before. On the same sheet, rather. And now, how cool is that? This might be one of my favorite jelly prints ever. So this is one where now I'm going to decide this is done and set it aside. Mud right now, but keeping in mind this is a background. You're gonna add to this and make it your own. You can put anything you want on this, and when you get in really close you can see there's so much texture on here that makes it really, really beautiful. So you can see how there really are no rules. All I'm doing is adding paint, spreading it around, using a stencil, however I want to continue building up these backgrounds. And because I'm using colors that all coordinate, and match fall outside my window, I guess we'll call the theme, it really does, you know, you can't really screw this up because again, it's a background. So you're just gonna keep adding layers and layers of texture. I think the hardest part about jelly printing for me is knowing when I'm done. I typically like to do anywhere from 10 to 30 pages at a time. And I just keep adding. And then I'll just go and I'll set one aside when it looks done. You know, this one I think is now done. Again, it's just orange, but when you look at it up close, you can see how much texture there is here and how much detail you'll have. I'm going to use this sun again, or starburst, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to put that over this dark brown one I did earlier. That added just a really faint layer. You can see it, but it is pretty light. So I'm going to go ahead and do the ghost print right on top. And now that's created some texture I really, really love. Once again, tons of awesome pattern for your background. I love this one too. So there you have it. Now I'm set with several fall background pages. You can take a look at how they all turned out. This one I love, this trees. And all that's left to do is let these dry, and then I can cut them up and use them however I want in my projects for my art journal or any other projects like artist trading cards, scrapbooks, whatever else I want. And I suppose I'll have to clean up. And again, as I mentioned, I think one of the hardest things to do is knowing when to stop, because you can really just go at this for days and you just keep adding layer and layer, set it aside, put a new piece of paper down, add some paint. You just kind of keep repeating that cycle however you want, and it's super fun, it's super relaxing. I love to do this with the TV on or loud music and just kind of zone out and play with paint and see what happens. The trick is you cannot be a perfectionist when you are jelly printing, or you may run into some trouble, because it's definitely an imperfect, perfect art form.